This time on the Highland Woodworker.
That would fit there.
Saddle up with rocking horse maker Buddy Jent. We'll bolt over to Cincinnati and visit Popular Woodworking's David Theil for his must-see tip on threaded inserts.
I kept a count of my dulcimers. It's up almost 18,000 now.
Fine furniture and music maker Warren May invites us to his rural workshop and reveals the secrets to producing his world-famous Kentucky dulcimers. All of this and more this time on the Highland Woodworker. Hello, I'm Charles Brock and I'm a Highland Woodworker. Just love coming to Highland Woodworking in Atlanta, Georgia. That's where I get all my fine woodworking tools and a great woodworking education. There's my friend Ed Set.
Hey Chuck, good to see you again.
Nice to see you, Ed. Ed, I want to tell you, getting older, it's harder to see that line sometimes.
Those 64th and 32nds are hard to tell apart these days, huh?
Sure, and I need some light, especially at my bandsaw, so I can see. Have you got some newfangled technology that might help me
I
out?
think we have a light that just might work out for you.
Well, I can't wait to see it. But first, I want to tell you about Buddy Jent. He makes rocking horses, and he makes them in a way that very few do. Let's take you there and meet Buddy and his work. Buddy Jent.
Hey Chuck,
Oh, so nice to see
good
you.
to see you again.
I've been looking forward to seeing your work in person. First time I saw pictures of it, it just amazed me. And it is really beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, all the features of a horse, and it glides or rocks. I wouldn't know how to do this unless you showed me. Can you show me your process?
Sure, let's start with the head.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. What we do first, Chuck, is I take these patterns and I draw them out on the wood. And then once I get them all drawn out, the first thing that I have got to do is on the neck piece, I have to cut a 7-degree angle because the horse is looking off to the side. And we have to cut that 7-degree angle here to get him looking off to the side. But we'll take this over to the bandsaw then and cut it out. We have to cut a smaller piece here to glue onto the ear and his cheek. And this gives us a little more bulk so that we can do a little more sculpting to give him ears and a eye socket. Chuck, this is kind of what it looks like once all of it's glued together. You see that we've got an offset where he's looking off to the side there, but there's actually 2 pieces of wood with the dowel in it, and then the eye and the ear piece glued on.
And you've actually kind of drawn a top profile with a Sharpie so that you could kind of have some guidelines.
It gives me a little guideline. I've got a center line here where the boards were glued together. Gives me a point of reference, and then when I start grinding on it, I've still got to take this out, but I'll start grinding on it and it'll start to take the shape of the horse.
All right, we'll have a horse's head popping out.
The hardest part for me is between the ears. Here.
I've had a problem with that for years, so I understand, buddy.
Now this is a jeweler saw. I use a coping saw at times, and it just seems like the blade just gets all twisted, and this little jeweler saw with a regular scroll saw blade in it works really well.
Aha!
All right.
There. All right. Looks like you've got it all roughed out here, and what are you going to do with it next?
Well, after I get it this far, then I'll have to take chisels. I draw a place for the nose here, hollow out the nose, hollow out the ears, I've got a what they call a power file that I like to use to go around the ears and get them even. One of them is usually a little thicker after I get through doing this, so I have to try to even those up. I go around the jaw line here, try to get a smooth transition there, and I can't get too far back here because I've got pieces that I've got to glue onto the neck here.
Okay.
But once I get all this done, I cut him some teeth and get it all sanded, and once I get it all sanded, the head, then I start gluing it all together.
A lot of sanding.
A lot of sanding.
All right, so you got to have a body for it.
Got to have a body.
Well, here we are at Buddy's Body Shop. You're going to show us how you make the body up.
Absolutely. We start with a board like this. I try to draw out where the legs are gonna fit. That way, when I go over to the table saw to cut these, then I know where I'm going. Once I get over there to do that, this is what it's going to look like once I get through. I have to cut it so far on the table saw, and then I'll finish cutting it on the bandsaw, and then I've got a plane that I use to smooth it out inside.
I see.
And then once I get all that done, then I have to attach the legs. When I get started with the legs, what I have to do is I go ahead and shape them. They start like this. They're kind of rough and all. The first ones I did were quite a bit thinner, but I started making a thicker leg. That way I could round it more. It gives it a little better look. But I try to get it sanded as much as I can before I put it together, because it's not any fun trying to wrestle a horse around trying to sand it. Okay, now once I get it that far, I actually would have to come in and cut notches for the hooves on the insides, because this thing, once it's all done, it rides on a couple of rails.
Yeah.
And that keeps the weight from the rider from mashing on the bolts.
Sure.
The weight's on the hoof rails then.
And now I understand you've got kind of a hollow box that you use on top of this.
Right. That would be, this is what they call the middle body block, and it would ride on like this. One thing I would do before I did that, I would have to flatten all this. Run this across the joiner and run this through the planer and get it flat so that it all joins the way that it's supposed to.
Sure.
Then once I get it all glued, then I have to cut a piece to go here to cover the holes. I'll put a plug in the holes here, and then a piece. I've got pieces, but I've got them angled, but they would go on top there.
And that gives it a little more width right here, like a racehorse.
Exactly.
Yeah, and gives you something to work with.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, I could see that. Now, I happen to know that you do something special inside in case in 150 years it comes apart.
Right.
You've left your mark and your message. Tell me about that.
What I do is, since it's hollow, I put a letter in there, and the first thing I do is tell the people that I'm sorry that their horse fell apart, because that's the only way that they're going to get it out is, but it's a letter telling who made it, where it was made, when it was made, and then I also put a Bible in it.
All right, that's great. That is just a great story, and I'm so glad you do that. All right, so where do we go from here?
Okay, then we have what's called a upper body block that's glued to that. And then we take our head that we worked on earlier, once it's all sanded. And that would fit there. And then we have muscle blocks that you glue to each side. And then we got a couple of smaller ones.
Wow.
And all that is glued together and clamped, and you let it set at least overnight. And then once you get through with that, then I take a grinder again and start grinding off the corners.
And then sanding.
And then once you get all that done, I use the rasp to get the grinder marks out, and then a lot of sanding.
So, Buddy, after a whole lot of work, you're finally to this point.
Right. And the next thing that I do usually here is I like to ebonize the hooves. They're not painted, but it's a chemical reaction in the wood that turns the bottom, the socks, black.
This is something for a child up to about what age or size?
Mine your age.
Is that right? Yeah, I'm having a hard time not wanting to get on it.
Oh, I ride every one that I make to make sure if it'll hold me, I figure it'll hold any child. So.
Well, do you want to get on?
Sure.
All right. This is kind of like a show I always wanted to do, Rocking with Buddy. How about that? Now that's a great demo for a product. It really is. And that should last somebody a long time. And you build the apparatus there, the stand, and with a nice twist turning, and that's just beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Buddy. I appreciate it. It's nice coming here to Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Good to see you again.
Yeah. I'd love to build one of those.
We can do it.
Check, this light should cast some light for you. It's a LED light that has a nice long gooseneck, so you can kind of put it right where you need it.
So I can hang that off my bandsaw, put that on top and bring it down?
Well, you want to have a good cast iron smooth surface for it to grab onto.
Sure.
Vertical surfaces may be a little too much for it to go vertically, but if it's a horizontal surface, it'll bite really nicely and hold.
Well, that sounds good. And look at the quality of the light.
It's nice white light. I think most people are real happy with it. It really illuminates your cut line so you can see what you're doing. If you are using it with a bandsaw or even on a workbench, you can certainly use it, get ingenious with just a clamp and clamp it to a wooden workbench as well.
I'm sold. I'm ready to take one home.
It's all yours.
Coming up.
Where's the challenge? Getting it in there square.
Popular Woodworking's David Theil troubleshoots those dreaded threaded inserts.
It really was just a pure passion of wanting to make things.
We're off to the Bluegrass State to discover what it takes to create musical masterpieces like these. Spend a moment with master woodworker and dulcimer maker Warren May. You're watching the Highland Woodworker.
I'm just an average, down-to-earth woodworker. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm probably about a 5. But one place I score a perfect 10 is right here, and I plan on keeping all 10. That's why I have a saw-stop table saw. And there's more. Plenty of power, superior dust collection, and absolute accuracy. These features have made it the best-selling cabinet saw in America. Let Highland Woodworking help you put a saw stop in your shop.
Craig, from the first cut to the final assembly, providing woodworkers with products that help simplify woodworking challenges. Craig.
Are your tools Tormek sharp? Tormek, consistent, reliable, and razor sharp. Tormek, sharpening innovation. Forest, Manufacturer of the award-winning Woodworker 2 presents the PVW blade, designed specifically for the rip and cross-cutting of plywood and plywood veneers without splintering or chip-outs. Highland Woodworking has been a leader in woodworking education for over 30 years. They offer all kinds of woodworking classes year-round, ranging from how to hand-cut dovetails and mortises, to how to sharpen a plane or a chisel, how to build a cabinet, a chair, or a bookcase, or how to turn a wooden bowl. There are classes on wood finishing, French polishing, and even antique furniture restoration. For a list of upcoming classes that may interest you, go to highlandwoodworking.com. Our friend David Theil shows us an easier way of using threaded inserts, this time on Popular Woodworking's tips, tricks, and techniques. David, knock down furniture, a lot of people do it. I think one of the problems is finding a way to keep the joint together and to make it knock down.
Absolutely.
You got some ideas?
One of my favorite pieces of hardware is a threaded insert, and it allows you to do knockdown furniture very easily. It's also good for furniture that, like an outside bench that needs to rotate, move against itself, collapse. You can use threaded inserts to put metal hardware into your wood projects very simply. Well, very simply up to a point. And that's why we're here. I want to show you something that will make using threaded inserts a little simpler.
Well, now, every time I've used threaded inserts, the problem was trying to get the insert in perpendicular to the face of the board.
Well, we've got one right here, and the interesting thing, I mean, it comes in a variety of different sizes. You see you've got the bolt that goes into it, and you want to go, this is a 1/4 interior, but when you take it out, it's got the threads around there that are biting into the wood, and it's got a slot across the top there, and the idea is that the screwdriver is supposed to fit in there. You see what happened there?
Yeah.
It didn't work. Now, if you've got something that's actually a wide enough blade to go all the way across that, then it's going to impede putting it into the wood. So where's the challenge? Getting it in there square. You're absolutely correct. I've thought of a lot of different ways. You could burr off the sides of the screw and make it square so you'd have something to grab and hold on to. Wasn't good enough. And while I was in the store buying this, I'm looking next door, and oh look, there's little lengths of threaded rod, the same diameter as the bolt you're going to put into it.
Okay.
So that makes sense. I'm going, think. What I've done is just taken a couple of nuts, put them together there, jammed them against each other, and then you're good to go, and I'll show you the next step. But first we got to make sure that the wood's going to take the threaded insert too.
Sure.
Depending on the wood you're using, whether it's poplar, oak, anything like that, the threaded insert will go in, but you want to give it enough oversize so that the threads will bite without tearing up that hole. So for oak it's different, for poplar it's different, certainly for pine it's different. You can drill it to the exact size of that thread. Your regular set of bits is going to have the usual sizes. In this case, you might try the 5/16, and that's where I started. But what I found out in oak is that that's too tight, and it blows it out. So I had to go to a bit of a specialty bit, and I've got an 11/32 here that is actually the right size for working with these threads in oak. You'll have to play with this a little bit to get comfortable with what works perfectly for you, but the varieties are out there.
So do some test joints.
Exactly.
Don't
Find a
just
piece
go
of
right
scrap.
into the piece that you're working.
Find a piece of scrap and play with it a little bit. Yeah, don't do it on the finished piece, please. That's a bad plan. But we've got our 11/32, and we're definitely in oak. So we'll drill a hole, and I'll show you one other little trick too. Now there's our hole. But if you take your thread, because it is a screw, essentially, it doesn't want to sit flat on that rough edge.
Right.
What do? Take your
Just ream it out a little
ream it out, and this just by hand, and I'm blocking the shot a little bit, but you get the idea. And you could do this with sandpaper too. But just take this.
I see.
and go right into it, and that loosens it up a little bit.
Now you've got a little...
You've got a little lip for that to start on.
Right.
And then it sits there more comfortably.
That's good.
All right. Now let's take it over to the drill press, and I'll show you what else we've got.
Okay.
All right.
David, I have no idea what we're doing at the drill press with, and do you need me to plug it in?
Absolutely not. Don't do that, because I'll show you why. The drill press is basically being used not as a power tool, perfect, not as a power tool in this case, but actually as something that is always at a right angle to the table.
Oh,
that's what it
okay.
gets used for, and that's what we need it for. So what I've done is I've taken the threaded rod with the 2 jam nuts and essentially left it so that the threaded nut will go just onto it and not have the threaded rod through.
Okay.
Then we take this, put it up in the chuck. We've got this set almost right. And again, distance isn't a big deal. And you want to crank this down because that thread at the top will slide if it's not done well. So that's good. Then we take the threaded rod and we want to make sure that the top with the slot is the piece that screws on first. Simply get it on there. Put it right up against the jam nuts. And now we have a square perpendicular right to the table, ready to go, and our hole is waiting for us.
Okay.
Now we bring the wood over, bring the handle down so that the quill is right there. When it touches, you've got your right hand on the quill movement, and then you reach down and remember, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. We're going right this time, and just as you go in, give the handle a little bit more of a pull to keep it going in.
I see it.
And again, if you had this on, that would be a bad idea.
So you're actually using the press part of the drill press.
Exactly. And you can see your jam nuts come down right to the top, and you're done. Now the tricky part is getting it loose. In this case, we've got a stop on the drill press that keeps us from climbing. Then we come here, release the chuck, hang onto the handle, bring it back down, and we're up. All right, now for this next step, we need a pair of pliers, so we'll go back over to the bench. Grab this right here because of the pressure of the press. We've kind of combined this together, so we want to make sure this is loose, which is fine. Unscrew our jam nut, and our threaded insert is nicely flush below the surface, ready to go.
Perfect.
And even if you didn't get it all the way down, you can still come back now with a too thin a blade and tighten it all the way down and flush.
Sounds like a good deal.
And it's square, and you don't fight with it.
That's always the problem. I think you found a solution.
I hope
Thank
so.
you, David.
My pleasure.
Coming up. A handcrafted sound, more than 40 years in the making. A moment with master woodworker Warren May is coming up.
We're kind of a hub for all these different craftsmen that we build a team for each specific job. And our work is very much a hybrid of all these different trades. So architecture, furniture, children's playgrounds, big public art projects, exhibition builds, and then all sorts of random, unusual things. So I'm William Hardy, and I'm the sort of main director and the founder of Studio Hardy.
Rycon Power Tools, a leader in woodworking power tools for over 10 years with a passion for quality and performance at an affordable price. Rycon has a full line of dependable tools, including a long list of industry-leading bandsaws like their powerful 10 351 14-inch Professional. Rycon Power Tools, tools designed by woodworkers.
Introducing the ultimate flush trim router bit by Whiteside. Get CNC quality cuts from your patterns every time. Whiteside, industrial grade and American made.
If you can't make it to Atlanta, then you can always shop us on the web at www.highlandwoodworking.com. Moment with the Master is presented by Triton Precision Power Tools. Warren May has been making fine furniture for 40 years. He invited us into his Kentucky workshop where he strums a slightly different tune day in and day out. Sit back and spend a moment with this musical woodworking master. On
On any given day, you'll hear music like this resonating through Warren May's woodworking studio located in the heart of the Bluegrass State, or as some call it, the Dulcimer capital of Kentucky. Brilliantly handcrafted musical masterpieces surround Warren May's fine furniture. Warren's work has been featured in most of the major woodworking publications throughout his 40-plus year career. However, like most passionate artisans, there were the lean years. Warren and his family struggled financially and was about to put his tools on the shelf and go down another path. Then a call from the Smithsonian changed everything. The war-renowned institution held Warren's Kentucky dulcimers in high regard. So much so, he was commissioned to produce 100 of them. This twist of fate put him back in business, and later afforded his family the opportunity to purchase this beautiful land outside of Berea from which to live and work.
Warren, it is just great to be here in your shop in Berea, Kentucky, and I understand very few people get to the honor of enjoying this. This is quite a place.
That's right. We got a beautiful morning going. But yeah, many people have asked about my shop. Of course, I have my handwork shop in my studio in town. But this is where we get to work at our own leisure. I have a couple of my employees that help me out and work day and night, but there's always something to do.
Well, you got a huge collection of wood, I see, and you even grow some of your own trees here, and you've got a wood kiln, and then all of this great group of tools for making dulcimers and furniture.
Yes.
You're known for both. Well, what I wanted to know is how you started. How did you get into this? Was there something as a kid that you just kind of tickled your fancy about wood? Or
Well, sure. I'm the least of 10 children, but I'd work in my dad's workshop. Of course, no electricity, but I would try to emulate my dad. He could split shingles and he could do basic farm tools and basically improvise anything on the farm to help it work. He was a really good old-fashioned farmer. But I've been carving and trying to make things ever since I can remember. I always carried a pocket knife and get in a little trouble every now and then for carving on the wooden desk at school. But eventually I after not having any shop classes in high school, I still always trying to make something or do something. But I was fortunate enough to go to Eastern Kentucky University and start in some of the woodworking classes to be a teacher. And I had to start from scratch, knew very, very little about sanding or power tools, anything at all like that.
Well, did you at that time realize you were going to spend your life in the trade and as an artist?
Well, I taught school 8 years in Kentucky high schools here, and of course learned a lot about processes and getting my students to be successful. That was my number one objective. But I learned a lot also about the different processes of woodworking and other crafts. But it was in my third year of teaching I had a chance to make a dulcimer. I'd been trying to play guitar, wasn't very successful at it, but I was able to make my first dulcimer. It took me about 2 weeks, and I could play music on the dulcimer. So I immediately started making 10 dulcimers. Now this was in 1972. And I kept a count of my dulcimers. It's up almost 18,000 now. But until we'd made them for 40 years, I had never numbered the days. And on our 40th year, we actually counted our dulcimers and divided them by the number of days, and it was a little more than a dulcimer every day for 40 years. Wow. And now we're up to 44 years.
You started making dulcimers, and at some point you decided to do that full time. When did you know?
Shop classes were changing. Technology was coming in. I wasn't as interested in the computers and technology, so I just decided to let the teaching go and start our own business. My wife and I actually moved to Berea. We chose the craft capital of Kentucky. Had no idea about anything business-wise. It really was just a pure passion of wanting to make things. probably wanted to make things more than sell them, but fortunately we started out making some very, very simple things, even some barnwood picture frames and some plant stands. And I would experiment with different things and usually do a series even on the furniture pieces. But I did dozens and dozens of quilt racks, hand turned, everything, even the dowels. Still try to incorporate a lot of my classical pieces, slant top secretaries, high boys, low boys, big chests. But over the years, we found out that the furniture, just the detail was taking so long. We're putting a little more emphasis on the instrument making now. And that's become very, very successful. I probably am the last Kentucky dulcimer maker that really does all the details on a Kentucky instrument, the carved scroll, the bead, the solid wood, the book matching, the folk art, and all the playing that makes it a Kentucky dulcimer. This one piece, a nice thick piece of wood, will yield about 6 slices on our bandsaw. So we like to be able to make at least 3 dulcimers with the natural knot hole that it'll yield out of that. So that's really exciting, all the special graining around the knot hole.
Yeah, I think it's wonderful the way that you celebrate what some people would see as a defect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now this is the heart of the dulcimer. Some of these are a little fancier. We've done a little extra wood burning, so I've hand-picked those out. Some of them will be just standards, where just a little simpler decoration on them later. But I've hammered the frets in, and while the board is still solid, but now we've actually got to take this down to about a 1/4 inch channel. So this has a lot to do with the tone of the actual instrument. So now we've reduced the mass quite a bit. We can make sure the fretboard stays real straight during the construction. So this will be a dulcimer in about 3 weeks.
What you've been working on here, you've got the pieces resawn on this beautiful walnut, and you've got this piercing done, and it looks great. But there is a channel down the middle of the fretboard.
Yes, because we just saw this doing 2 cuts on the dado on the table saw, and that leaves us a 1/4 inch edge here of which to attach the 2 book match top pieces. And again, the lightening of the fretboard is very important for the tone.
And this also shows, I guess, the neck, and what's this piece called?
The tail piece.
The tail piece, all right. The neck and the tail piece are attached. And that kind of gives us an idea about how you put them together.
It took us several tries to get the real breakthrough of attaching the scroll and the tail piece to the top, and then we could actually glue the sides in, but these would be stabilized. So that was a real breakthrough in the construction, where we could use our clamps or clamping fixtures to glue the instrument together.
Well, this looks like a glue press. Tell me about it.
It is. After several tries, we were able to assemble the traditional dulcimer. Instead of modifying the instrument, we actually had to make our fixtures and our clamping jigs to end up with the same result. I used to glue the sides in by hand with spring clamps and clothespin clamps, but after many tries, we knew it was like a 3-step process of gluing the end pieces on. Now here we've got the back already picked out for this one, but here, very simply, we'll unpop just with one clamp. We've actually clamped the entire, both sides on. Each one of these are spring loaded. It's a fairly sophisticated little mold, also very heavy, but see each. So now we get a tremendous amount of pressure at each location. So
you're
that's
quite an engineer too. I like your press.
Several
there.
tries on that. So, now here we've actually forced the sides into exact position, and then notice that everything will just pop out of there eventually. So, yeah, a little glue there. Okay, it's actually that snug. So there we go, but we And this, of course, is the really, really hard part, is getting the sides all symmetrical and clear and clean.
Sure.
So now we're ready to actually put the back on, but that requires another press or a mold. See, we need to actually glue this back on here. And therefore we'll go to our next station there.
Okay.
This one we've, just for simplicity of pressing the back straight down, we have a toggle clamp on both ends, so we get a perfectly vertical pressure on it. And again, it's pretty much the same idea of the spring-loaded bolts. And we keep, because we get a very rigid clamp there.
Sure.
So in that process, we lock the framework into place and very carefully align the top, the back piece. And then there we have the completed instrument. So this is about 2 weeks into the process. So now we've got to do all our trimming, making the bead, which is the real traditional part, and a lot of carving, inletting here, and getting it all prepped out, hand carving on the hummingbirds. And then about an hour of hand and machine sanding, 4 coats of lacquer, and then a rubbing, and then another half hour of stringing, and that's all over about a 3-week period.
Warren, after almost 18,000 dulcimers made, where do you see yourself going with this?
Well, because we're getting pretty close to retirement, but no end in sight. I really am harvesting wood on my property here. I'm drying my wood in my kiln, accumulating old lots of wood. So at this point, I still anticipate making furniture and dulcimer as long as I can.
What would you like to be remembered by? Warren May, by family, friends, and other woodworkers especially?
Well, generally I just tag on woodworker because I have spent so much of my life really building furniture pieces. And then, because the dulcimer is more immediate, it takes us about 3 weeks to work a dulcimer all the way through the process. But just due to the sheer volume and the interest in traditional American folk music and Kentucky folk music, I think dulcimers are going to be my forte, I guess. Some would run, but that ain't like me. So I'll just dream, keep on being the way I am. So I'll just dream, keep on being the way I am.
Well, one of the best investments for any shop is in lighting. It's one of the most important tools that you can buy, and you just got to be able to see your work. I have a line here that I need to cut on, and to line it up, especially with walnut, sometimes is kind of an iffy thing, because the walnut's dark, the pencil line or the cut line is dark. Here I have a cut line and a pencil line on top of that. And using this flex arm LED light, I'm able to really zero in on it and get the alignment I need to make the cut work. It's got a magnetic base over here that gives it very sturdy support and a 28-inch gooseneck. So it's wonderful for this application or your bandsaw or any place that you need to target a light. All right, I've got it set up. I think I'm ready to rip. A flex arm LED magnetic light in your shop will make you smile.
Improve your woodworking experience. Sign up for Wood News Online, a monthly newsletter showcasing the latest news, tips, and classes Highland Woodworking has to offer. By signing up, you'll receive the latest episode of the Highland Woodworker, special store promotions, and Wood News Online delivered straight to your inbox. Sign up today.
Well, that's all the time we have left for this episode. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And until next time, I'm Charles Brock, and I'm a Highland Woodworker.